on Best Kept Secrets. 600,000 strong, they are dedicated men and women who get paid to lay their lives on the line.
With law enforcement, if you go out there, you face the danger every day.
Now, we go inside the high-stakes world of law enforcement. Can police in Los Angeles stop a killer before he strikes again?
We still had a guy out there who we knew committed the crimes, who could go out and kill someone else.
See how the elite firearms analysis unit puts a cold-blooded murderer behind bars.
That casing or those test fires matched up to the evidence casings.
And when desperate suspects make a run for it, innocent lives are in danger. We reveal the high-speed secrets of a police pursuit.
Policemen have to know how to drive better than all of us because that's what they're going to have to do in their job.
Then, can authorities tell when you're lying just by looking at your face?
We can start getting accuracy upwards of 80%.
You won't believe the high-tech secret that's about to revolutionize police interrogations.
The biggest secret about this research is that it works.
Plus, officers turn science fiction into reality. At a cutting-edge training facility, we get an inside look at the secret weapons of the 21st century cop.
Law enforcement will change more in the next 10 years than it has in the last 200.
Then, a unique breed of lawman with their own brand of justice.
It's a very fine line. We won't cross that line, but we might move it.
We uncover the secret tactics of a bounty hunter.
Do it!
These stories are straight ahead on Best Kept Secrets. Los Angeles, California. Richard Dunbar was an aspiring actor and model whose dreams of fame and fortune were finally coming true. But on April 5th, 1995, those dreams were shattered. During an attempted carjacking, Dunbar is shot twice in the chest. The carjacker robs Dunbar of his dreams and his life, then flees without even taking his car.
He gave over the keys to his car, and all he wanted was his life. He begged for his life, and his life ended that day.
Left behind are 2 bullet casings, the only link between the victim and the killer. Detectives submit these shell casings to an elite division that can take the tiniest shred of evidence and make it the key to solving a crime. That division is the LAPD Firearms Analysis Unit. Our cameras were granted rare access to their top-secret headquarters, where analysts use classified techniques to solve a crime. Here, firearms analysts spend countless hours poring over the evidence that guns leave behind. Using high-tech tools and secret technology, this world-renowned crime lab is on the cutting edge of ballistic research.
Our unit is really good because of the people who work here. We care a lot about our work, and we're really dedicated.
Dennis Fung, the lead criminalist in the Firearms Analysis Unit, shows us where cases like the Dunbar investigation begin.
This is the evidence vault. This is where evidence comes. Evidence is brought into here and is assigned to different analysts. For instance, this case has cartridge cases and bullets.
Fung begins with old-fashioned police work and an analysis of Dunbar's clothing. This process will help to determine where the gun fired in relation to the victim.
We try to determine how far an assailant was from the victim when he fired his gun.
The analysis confirms that Dunbar's killer fired a deadly shot at close range.
What I'm looking for is the pattern itself. You can see the black residue on the shirt, and also there are very fine, unburnt particles of gunshot powder. And in this other one, there's hardly any gunshot residue pattern here, and all you see is the bullet wipe entering the shirt itself. This tells me that the bullet was fired from a farther distance away than this one.
The next question that firearms analysts must answer is whether both casings found at the crime scene were fired from the same gun. With 220 million firearms in circulation in the United States, that's no small task.
This is a comparison microscope. And what we're going to do is look at cartridge cases and determine how many guns were present at the crime scene.
Fung says that every discharge casing bears signature markings, comparable to fingerprints left by the gun that fired it.
It picks up microscopic scratches, and these scratches are known as tool marks.
To the naked eye, these tool marks are invisible, but this high-powered microscope brings them to light.
This cartridge case actually has a lot of individualizing features on it.
After examining the casings in the Dunbar murder, it is determined that they all came from the same type of gun, a gun that fires .380 auto-caliber bullets. The next step is to link the casings to the precise weapon that fired them.
Now that we've identified how many firearms were used in this crime scene, we're going to take the evidence over to DrugFire for input.
Nicknamed DrugFire, this classified database digitally stores thousands of images of cartridge casings. The computer then tries to match those casings to the weapons that expended them. Richard Smith is the unit's DrugFire expert.
DrugFire's 2 workstations can sort literally 1,000 images within a few seconds.
With the DrugFire system, we have the ability to manipulate these images and overlay them. And if you see here, I can bring these marks very close to each other and manipulate this image so that I can check it.
Since 1993, we've had over 560 connections or hits. That's resulted in nearly 100 convictions.
But this time, Smith hits a dead end. DrugFire can only match up the casings with guns used in previous crimes.
We put them into the DrugFire database and we did a search, but we didn't come up with a match. The case was pretty much dead in the water at that point. Right.
Detectives are hoping that the results of all the tests will give them some kind of lead. But none of the firearms analysis unit's findings are enough to link a suspect to the crime scene. Now, it's a waiting game for more evidence to turn up. And meanwhile, Dunbar's killer is still on the loose.
We ran into a wall, so to speak. It was frustrating. We still had a guy out there who we knew committed the crimes, who could go out and kill someone else. That's terribly frustrating.
In her role as the deputy DA investigating the murder, Danette Myers knows that the expertise of the firearms unit will be crucial in solving the crime.
The firearms unit gives us evidence that most criminal defendants don't think we're going to get. See, most criminal defendants don't believe they're ever going to get caught.
September 1996, more than a year after Richard Dunbar's life was cut short, police get the break they've been waiting for. It comes during a routine roundup of gang members.
One of the suspects jumped a fence and, in doing so, left this gun behind.
The gun, a .380 Beretta, is taken to the LAPD Firearms Analysis Unit, where criminalists conduct a routine test firing. New .380 caliber rounds are fired through the Beretta into a special water-filled tank. The fluid slows down the bullets without them being deformed by an impact. Afterward, the slugs in the shell casings are collected for tool mark analysis. Richard Smith takes the casings and tries to find a tool mark match to others in the DrugFire database. That's when he makes a startling discovery.
We took the casings, we decided the class characteristics, and we entered it into DrugFire.
These are breech face characteristics. These are the tool marks left on the primer area of the casing.
And lo and behold, that casing or those test fires matched up to the evidence casings in the Dunbar case.
The findings are indisputable. The street gang's Beretta is the same gun that killed Richard Dunbar. This is the crucial connection the Dunbar case has needed. Now, it's a matter of finding out which gang member pulled the trigger.
Police had an idea of who the gun belonged to, but they couldn't prove it.
Ultimately, one of the gang members turns informant and identifies Dunbar's killer. A 30-year-old gangbanger named Bernard Nelson. The gang member's testimony links Nelson to the Beretta, which was also used in several other deadly shootings. Armed with this evidence, Danette Myers charges Bernard Nelson with first-degree murder.
In light of all of that evidence, as well as the ballistics evidence, which matches the guns up, there's no question, Your Honor, that with respect to counts 4 and 5, that the defendant committed those offenses.
The defendant, Bernard Nelson, thought he'd gotten away with murder. He was confident. He was bragging. He thought he was smart enough to get away with murder. And he wasn't, because he eventually was convicted.
But Nelson persists in his claim of innocence, offering no apologies for his actions.
As far as my lack of remorse, I don't see where I should be obligated to show remorse for crimes that I did not commit.
Bernard Nelson is sentenced to death and awaits execution on death row. Thanks to the high-tech tools and expertise of the LAPD Firearms Analysis Unit, a true menace to society has been taken off the streets.
When a case such as the Dunbar murder comes in, and you know you had a part in solving that case, it just leaves you with a great feeling, knowing that you helped put somebody bad in jail.
It also sends a message to the defendant, to the defendant's criminal companions, i.e. the gang members, that we're not going to put up with this. That we're going to go out, we're going to investigate crimes, and if you continue to commit them, we're going to continue to prosecute you, we're going to continue to investigate, and we're going to put you behind bars.
Sometimes catching a criminal takes months of painstaking detective work, and sometimes it happens in a few heart-pounding seconds. Los Angeles, California. Officers are in hot pursuit of a criminal who's determined to get away at any cost.
Okay, we got lots of traffic up ahead. This thing could come to an end right here.
As the chase escalates, the police are forced to take extreme measures.
Look at that! Oh! They took the suspect out!
Ending what could have become a lethal situation. For police officers, knowing how to stay safe in a high-speed pursuit can mean the difference between life and death. Because police frequently find themselves in these perilous situations, they've developed secret driving techniques to bring a dangerous pursuit to a safe conclusion.
Policemen have to know how to drive better than all of us because that's what they're going to have to do in their job.
There you go, good job.
At the BSR Driving School in West Virginia, officers from across the country are learning the secrets of high-speed driving from instructor Matt Croak.
Breathe and relax. Go straight, go fast, and breathe.
You can train realistically on real roads, yet in a safe environment, because we push their people to their limits.
One of Croak's students, Sergeant Aaron Zaltzman of the West Virginia State Police, knows that it's up to him to make safety a priority in a high-speed pursuit.
People that are running are fixated on getting away. They aren't paying any attention to safety, and we have to pay attention to safety, and we don't want to hurt anybody, including the people running from us.
In the heat of a high-speed chase, Croak says the first thing an officer must do is stay in control.
The most common mistake that you might see a police officer make is being too aggressive, getting competitive with the person he's chasing.
To avoid the pitfalls of aggressive driving, Croak teaches skills that can only be learned here, behind the wheel of a car. The instructors agreed to put us in the passenger seat to reveal how police handle a high-speed pursuit. One of their secret techniques is called ocular driving.
Ocular driving means looking where you want to go. We know from sports that there's a lot of hand-eye coordination. If I want to catch a ball, I have to look at it. Same when you drive. If I look at a telephone pole, I'm going to steer at it. If a deer jumps in the road, I look at it, I'm going to steer at it.
That's why Croak makes his students practice an exercise called serpentining. Drivers are taught how to maneuver around traffic cones, but the trick here is to never look directly at the cones.
If you look at the cones, you're going to hit them.
The secret is to keep a steady eye on the road ahead.
You want to look where you want to go, and that goes against all human instinct, and it's hardest to do.
Orlando, Florida. An officer in a high-speed pursuit of a drug dealer is forced onto the median. But he manages to get back onto the pavement without skidding or spinning out. This critical maneuver is called off-road recovery. Sergeant Saltzman gives us an inside look at how this technique works.
You go off the shoulder of the road, you don't want to jerk the wheel real quick. It can cause the car to flip or go out of control because there are two different surfaces generally.
Los Angeles, speeds top 100 miles per hour as officers pursue a gang of bank robbers. Suddenly, the suspect loses control, bringing the chase to a violent end. The risk of skidding out of control in a chase is a very real one for officers. That's why Croak makes every student learn the tricks to controlling a car that begins to slide.
When the car starts to slide, the first thing you want to do is get off the gas. And then if your front tires are sliding, stay off the gas until you get traction in your front tires to steer. If your back tires are sliding, look where you want to go and continue to steer there.
Croak also teaches another technique to avoid skidding out of control: high-speed cornering.
High-speed cornering is hard for a lot of people, and that's another thing out here that we learn is how to travel into curves at a high rate of speed and still maintain control.
According to Croak, the key to handling a curve is to go in slow and come out fast.
Of course, the mistake most people make is they go into curves too fast, and that's when they crash.
He's in too fast.
Another key to staying in control is knowing how to brake properly. To meet this challenge, Croak teaches his students a method known as threshold braking.
The secret to braking is first not to lock your brakes. If you lock your brakes, your wheel stops moving, your rubber's sliding on the road, and your rubber turns to liquid, you slide on your liquid rubber.
Clayton County, Georgia. Officers are in pursuit of a dangerously reckless car thief. As the suspect weaves through traffic, the police are left no choice but to bring him to a stop. The aggressive maneuver you just saw is called a precision immobilization technique, or PIT maneuver. It's the most dangerous maneuver that can ever be used in a high-speed chase.
It's a lethal use of force. Vehicles are a dangerous and deadly weapon.
Back at the track, Croak and another instructor face off to give us a dramatic look at this drastic maneuver.
You pull up alongside where your bumper's in the quarter panel, steer into them, accelerate, push the back end around.
With the help of instructor Matt Croak, officers like Aaron Zaltzman are learning the high-speed secrets to staying safe in a pursuit.
One of the secrets is I've got the advantage over a lot of people out here. I've had this training, I've been able to push myself to the limit, and I know how far I can go, and these other people don't.
Some suspects reveal their guilt by trying to run, but others give themselves away with a more subtle gesture.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never.
I would like to reassert my innocence and reiterate that all the charges against me are false and will be proven false in a court of law.
I would like to say to whoever has my children that they please bring them home.
Bill Clinton, Marv Alpert, and Susan Smith all told the nation they were innocent of any wrongdoing. But what if those investigating their claims could tell if they were lying just by looking at their faces? It may sound impossible, but researchers are now developing a revolutionary new method of lie detection that reads facial expressions to determine when someone is telling the truth or when they're lying.
All York County Sheriff's Department units, be on the lookout for a 1990 Mazda Protege.
One of the nation's leading experts on this subject is Dr. Mark Frank.
We can start getting accuracy upwards of 80%, and that's quite an impressive number in the world of deception detection.
Traditionally, law enforcement officers have relied on the polygraph to help them determine when someone is lying.
Have you ever lied about your age?
Yes.
But Dr. Frank believes there's a better way. He says that most liars give themselves away with split-second facial expressions, known as micro-expressions.
These are little expressions that appear 1/15 of a second, 1/10 of a second. And that will often betray the liar.
Incredibly, these micro-expressions can be as minute as a twitch of an eyebrow or an unnatural blink of the eye. The human face has 46 different muscles that move when we express an emotion such as fear, anger, surprise, sadness, or disgust. Researchers in the field of deception have discovered a method for charting these expressions with a system known as the Facial Action Coding System, or FACS.
The facial action coding system was a technique developed back in the mid-1970s. And what they were interested in doing was trying to come up with a way to objectively measure facial muscle movements.
Dr. Frank believes this system could even be applied to cases like that of Susan Smith, a mother who gained notoriety when she claimed her children were abducted during a carjacking.
And he had a gun, and he had it pointed in my side and told me to drive.
Those micro-expressions we find occur when people are lying. You may see this micro-expression of fear come on their face for 1/10 of a second, some very brief period of time.
Unlike the polygraph, which requires the cooperation of a suspect to record physical responses.
Were you at that house on the night of the 14th?
No.
Micro-expressions can be read secretly without the suspect's knowledge.
The problem, of course, with the polygraph is you can't do it all the time. You can't constantly polygraph people.
That's why scientists at the Salk Institute in La Jolla, California, have designed a computer program that can actually read micro-expressions from videotape. The Salk Institute's new computer program could have dramatic implications. It can analyze footage of such high-profile cases as the O.J. Simpson murder trial, the Monica Lewinsky sex scandal, or the alleged kidnapping of Susan Smith's children.
The computer program that we've developed doesn't miss a muscle. It's all analyzed, and you can go back later and pull out that information in a way that a human being would never be able to do.
According to Dr. Terence Sanofsky, the biggest advantage of this remarkable program is that the subject doesn't even have to be in the room to be analyzed.
Our computer system, which has automated the facial action coding system, can be used remotely without the subject being aware of it. It can be used off of television footage, for example.
My heart just aches and I miss him so much, I just can't express it.
This is TV footage of Susan Smith pleading for the kidnapper of her 2 small boys to return them to safety.
And I pray that whoever has them, that the Lord would let him realize that they are missed and loved more than any children in this world.
Using this cutting-edge computer program, Dr. Marion Bartlett reveals the hidden secrets written all over Susan Smith's face.
This is an example of Susan Smith. She's speaking to the press and she's telling them, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't do anything but think about them. However, if you look at the video, what you see is a slightly unusual pattern of facial behavior. Normally in adult sadness, what you see is the inner brows raising and the lip corners turning down. But in her case, the lip corners actually turn up rather than down, and her brows contract and pull down and don't pull up. This by itself doesn't prove that she's lying, but it is an unusual pattern of facial behavior.
At a later interview, Smith is again seen professing her innocence.
The Lord and myself both know the truth. I did not have anything to do with the abduction of my children.
But watch closely as Smith raises her hand to her chest on the word myself. Her eyes glance sideways and her lip corners pull down. According to Dr. Sanofsky, these are micro-expressions that indicate the emotion of disgust, an emotion that is quite different from sadness.
If a person were feeling, for example, sadness, then we know there are 3 or 4 muscles, facial actions, that would be appropriate under those circumstances. But if other muscles suddenly intrude that are more consistent with disgust, we know that there's something more going on in that person's mind.
I want to say to my babies that your mama loves you so much.
Convinced that Smith was lying, investigators hammered away at her until finally, the truth was revealed.
Susan Smith has been arrested and will be charged with 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of her children, Michael 3 and Alexander 14 months.
According to Dr. Sanofsky, this revolutionary computer program could have been a major asset to officers investigating the case.
And if this had been present at that interview, then this would have been an important clue that could have been used by the police in order to be able to penetrate and find out what really happened in that case.
But the ability of this process to detect deceit is real, and that could change the face of law enforcement. And according to Dr. Sanofsky, that's just the beginning.
The biggest secret about this research is that it works. There are certain government agencies that are very interested in this technology that may be using it in ways that I can't tell you.
Out on the street, there are no computers for reading guilt, and a mistaken judgment can cost an officer his life. February 15th, 1997, Wilmington, Ohio. Police pull over this truck for a minor traffic violation.
Now, do you have any guns, knives, clubs, and stuff like that on you? Very good. Let's sit back here with me a second, sir.
But what the officers don't know is that inside the truck are Shane Kehoe and his brother Chevy, who's wanted for murder in Arkansas.
I'll tell you what the process is. Okay.
Suddenly, the driver panics and runs towards the truck, and the situation rapidly spins out of control. One of the suspects opens fire on police. Fortunately, these officers survive what has become one of the most infamous shootouts ever caught on tape. But what if there was a way that officers could have predicted what the Kehoe brothers were going to do? Well, there is. It's called body language, and its secrets are saving countless lives of police officers across the country.
These are things that we should recognize. We've known them for years. We're born with this instinct, but because we want to be civilized, we kind of push it away.
Carl Spiva has spent 27 years in law enforcement. He knows firsthand the importance of anticipating a potentially lethal situation. During his career, 14 of his fellow officers have been killed in the line of duty.
With law enforcement, if you go out there, you face the danger every day.
At the Georgia Public Safety Training Center outside of Atlanta, Spiva trains officers from all over the state to recognize the hidden meaning of body language. His mission is simple: save officers' lives.
We teach body language for all aspects of law enforcement. I teach to recognize the signs, the facial expressions, the statements, the language, things that we really shouldn't have to recognize. They're just common.
Spiva says that guilt is not expressed in just one body movement. It usually comes in clusters.
So what you're looking for is clusters. No one item by itself, not nervousness, not just an item set separate. It's all of it clustered together.
Because clusters are based on individual signs or signals, Spiva teaches his students to observe a suspect's every gesture.
Their stance, their hands, do they place their hands in their pocket as opposed to across their chest or behind their back? All that comes into play.
As a way to bring the very real world of police work into the classroom, Spiva uses dash cam footage to teach officers how to recognize clusters of body language.
Just because somebody gets out and crosses their arms, they're not hiding anything. But if they get out, meet you at the back of the car, cross their arms, and try to keep their body between you and the vehicle or you and something else, they're trying to protect it from there, keep you out of the scene.
In this video, the man's suspicious body language led officers to search the car, which resulted in the discovery of nearly $900,000 in cash hidden in the trunk.
Looks like money, currency, and rubber bands.
Spiva also cautions officers to keep an eye out for body language meant to distract their attention.
But the biggest thing you got to remember is what we call it smoke and mirrors. Why? I want to distract you. I want to do that by placing something, drawing your attention away from me.
This video of a traffic stop in Texas is a classic example of how suspects will try to distract an officer.
He's asking about searching the vehicle, asking to look in the trunk. Passenger gets out. Now, that's not who's in control of the vehicle. That's highly unusual. You'll also notice that he's having to move them around to position them. This is classic. They're drawing his attention. Now there's 3 of them. Moving off to each side.
Suddenly, one of the suspects opens fire.
Oh my God!
Spiva says because the officer understood the suspect's body language, he was instantly suspicious.
The classic move of the smoke and mirrors, the hand movement to distract. What they tried to do is move one person on each side of him, split his attention, and then attack him. So body language like that, divide, separate, and draw your attention somewhere else.
Spiva uses another video to clearly illustrate clusters of behavior that indicate anger and aggression.
This is a short one. It only lasts for a few seconds, but the body language starts right now. As soon as he steps out of the car, got the head cocked to one side. Okay, you can see right here. What? He's got it twisted. And he's bowed up, got that body turn. You see he's got those hands out, and he's strolling back to that automobile. He's mad. He just deliberately turns and then talks over his shoulder back at the officer. Don't get out of here, leave me alone. In the car, his aggression doesn't stop. It continues from this point on, even in his driving.
The suspect speeds away in an attempt to outrun the police.
He'll try to get off the ramp up here, and he overreacts to it. Again, why? Anger. Again, carried not only from the body language out of the car, but from the body language into the automobile. He loses it here, going off into the ditch. That's why you want to watch for these body languages, for these clues. They're common. They stick out like a sore thumb.
Through Ed Spiva's dedication, body language is saving countless lives and quickly becoming one of law enforcement's best-kept secrets.
It's definitely a lifesaver in law enforcement to build that extra little sense, I guess is what you would call it, because you see something coming before it happens.
To further ensure the safety of its officers, law enforcement is turning even more to science and technology. Vancouver, British Columbia. Police are overwhelmed by a mob of unruly hockey fans. They've lost control and their lives are at stake. But now, police across the country are developing state-of-the-art weapons to help them avoid situations like this. Weapons that will protect the community and save officers' lives.
Law enforcement will change more in the next 10 years than it has in the last 200.
Los Angeles, California. While these buildings may look like the set of a Hollywood Western, they are actually part of the Sheriff's Department's cutting-edge crime-fighting training facility. Known as Laser Village, the tactical training that occurs in here is nothing short of revolutionary for police officers of the 21st century.
On your approach or inside the location, if you're engaged in a gunfight, what is our position and cover? Where are we going to tactically retreat to?
Someone got me good.
Lieutenant Sid Hale works on the technology exploration project of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. He says the crime-fighting technology of tomorrow is fast becoming a reality.
In the last 24 months, we've made major breakthroughs, particularly in the realm of less lethal technology. That is going to continue well into this next decade, this new millennium.
Police officers of the future will learn not in a classroom, nor in a patrol car, but in a trailer that's been converted into a space-age virtual reality training ground.
Sheriff's Department, let's see your hands! Your hands up! Hands up! Sheriff's Department!
Experience is the best teacher, but it's a ruthless schoolmaster. If we can create a virtual environment where all the factors are required, the training will occur and without the catastrophic consequences.
Here, technology is used to create a hyper-reality where officers can train in a very realistic environment. Officers burst into this room and are confronted with a scenario projected on a screen. They've got only seconds to decide if the people in the scenario are friends or foes.
Hands up in the air! Go! Hands up! Get your hands up!
In the eerie twilight of the simulator, the officers play out this serious life and death situation in complete safety. Instead of weapons with bullets, the officers fire lasers that hit the suspects on the screen. A computer records their shots and their reaction time. But what makes this simulator so unique is that officers wear laser-sensitive packs that register hits from the suspects' weapons. After the mock shootout, the computer screen shows the officers how many shots they fired. Then, a teacher plays back the scenario, and just like in a video game, the officers can see where their shots went and who they hit.
First shot is on the suspect. 1 and 2 actually fired at the same time, which you see is the tracking of the muzzles. As the threats pop up, you'll see where the muzzles go. Ideally, what you'd like is that whole room covered.
The teacher analyzes the team's performance. In this case, 2 officers covered 1 person and their shots were clumped, leaving 1 part of the room unsecured. What could have been a deadly mistake in the real world is instead a valuable lesson learned in a non-lethal training room. But new technology is also being used to create new weaponry. Law enforcement has developed this remarkable device. It looks like a flashlight, is more disarming than a nightstick, and its name seems straight out of a Star Wars movie. It's called the Laser Dazzler.
It sends a beam of light, green light in this particular case, that dazzles, for lack of a better word, the suspect's ability to look back at us.
The laser temporarily blinds a suspect, preventing him from aiming a weapon at officers. Then the police have a chance to subdue him.
Don't move, don't move.
When officers have to take aim on criminals, lining up their sights can cost precious seconds. That's why these amazing laser sights have been developed.
The laser allows us to basically hit anything we can see in the dark. You simply put the laser on your target and pull the trigger. And wherever that laser is, the bullet goes right in where that laser is.
To stop a fleeing suspect, lethal force has sometimes been an officer's only option. But now, police can use something that looks like a gun, but instead of shooting bullets, it shoots electricity. As you'll see in this demonstration, the advanced taser shoots a pronged cartridge that delivers a high-voltage dose of electricity that will stop a suspect in his tracks.
The way this works is that it delivers about 50,000 volts, which constricts the skeletal muscles, but leaves the more important muscles like the heart and lungs and everything else alone.
The drawback of the taser is that its range is only 21 feet. But there's a similar weapon, one that's also got a catchy name. The Sticky Shocker and its tiny battery pack delivers pulses of electricity of nearly 50,000 volts.
All the other technologies that we have, when they attach to the body for projecting electricity, they use probes. In this particular case, it just uses a glue, an unbelievably sticky glue.
The spasms experienced by this volunteer test subject show that the Sticky Shocker is just as effective as the taser. The shocker is currently being developed to be fired from a multi-purpose launcher. But the real world isn't as controlled as a research lab. When the man in this demonstration turns aggressive, threatening officers with a tire iron,
Put the tire down!
The police turn to a non-lethal device to end the threat. It's called the pepper ball, and it's filled with something found in your own kitchen cabinet, cayenne pepper.
Cayenne is plenty hot, especially if you breathe it once or twice. It'll make you sneeze.
The officers easily handcuff the man, who is left gasping for breath from this potent but non-lethal weapon.
Hey, you want some of this blood? Come on! Come on out here!
But officers of the 21st century won't just benefit from high-tech weaponry. They'll also have the latest in tools and gadgets. Imagine being able to observe gang activities or gather incriminating drug evidence, not by going undercover, but by simply watching a monitor. The images are transmitted by a miniature camera with an intriguing name, the Chang Eye.
The Chang Eye is a very small camera that then also has a radio attachment on it that then broadcasts back to, well, any place you have a receiver.
The Chang Eye can be placed under doorways, hidden behind cabinets, and even go under cars and buildings on a remote control vehicle. The Chang Eye means that police can keep an eye on dangerous activities and locations without having to put themselves at risk to gather information. Through the application of new technology and non-lethal weaponry, the future will be safer for both officers and the criminals they confront.
That we're calling it the reformation of law enforcement. With new technology, we will be making strides that were never even possible just a few years ago.
It's clear that new technology will play a significant role in the future of law enforcement. But there's another breed of lawman. They don't carry badges. In fact, they don't work for law enforcement at all. They're bounty hunters, and their job is tracking down fugitives from justice.
A bounty hunter locates those citizens who have a bail bond yet fail to appear in court and are now considered fugitives.
The reputation of bounty hunters is steeped in adventure and mystery. But working on their own and without the vast resources of law enforcement, how do they do it?
We can use every gag and scam in the book to bring in our fugitive.
Like his father before him, Zeke Unger has chosen the life of a bounty hunter.
I think that you can't really train somebody to be a bounty hunter. It has to come instinctually. I'm second generation, so for me, I grew up around it.
But while he's respectful of his legacy, Unger doesn't cling to the rough and tumble methods of his father. In fact, he carries a high-tech arsenal of non-lethal weapons similar to those in this demonstration.
We're using non-lethal ballistic rounds. Our shotguns carry beanbag rounds and rubber bullets versus hard rounds, which in a situation can incapacitate a fugitive long enough for us to get him in handcuffs versus having to shoot them.
Even though he usually works alone, at a moment's notice he can call in backup muscle, a surveillance limousine, and even a private jet. In fact, Unger uses tools and techniques so secretive, he wouldn't even allow us to follow him as he tracks down a fugitive.
We have a lot of secret tactics and surveillance equipment that we use, although for the security of the company, I really can't go into that.
But this man, veteran bounty hunter Bob Burton, agreed to share his closely guarded trade secrets.
The bottom line is, finding the bad guy, the fugitive, is the hardest part of this business.
After 30 years of chasing down fugitives, Bob Burton now passes on his wisdom to the next generation of bounty hunters. At his school in Tucson, Arizona, Burton reveals an arsenal of secret techniques to ferret out bail jumpers. One of his favorites is using small talk in a trick he calls pretexting.
Pretexting is a skill in which you can induce someone over the phone or in person to reveal information they would not otherwise reveal.
Burton used pretexting to accomplish his easiest capture ever.
I called up his house. Who answered the phone was a little boy who told me, "Oh yeah, Uncle Jerome just called." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yes, he left this address for my mommy." "Oh, give me the address. I'm supposed to deliver something to him." The kid read to me the address that this man had just left on the phone. Okay, I'm 30 minutes into the case now and I found him, but he was 6 hours away in Vegas. I called a friend in Vegas to get over there. I told him what kind of a car the bad guy had. Went over there, he called me on his cell phone, the car is here. I said, "Sit on that door until I get there." I was over there by 5 o'clock that afternoon. We went to the place, the man was still there. We had him in custody at 5:10 and headed back to the Ventura County Jail.
Burton not only talks a good game, he's also a master of disguise, changing identities like a chameleon changes color.
My most creative get-up was I posed as a rabbi to convince a woman, his mother, to tell me where he was. I told her that I was his rabbi in prison in California, and she trusted me, and she told me where he was, and I nabbed him. Handcuffing and searching are probably the most physical things in this business.
Burton teaches the safest methods for catching outlaws, and that means keeping a lookout for the deadliest threat to bounty hunters: concealed weapons.
Don't slide your hands. We'll go through this.
The first step of staying alive is knowing how to search a fugitive for all hidden weapons. But restraining the suspect without getting killed is the highest priority, and there's only one way to do it.
Handcuffs.
After weeks of intensive training, these rookies will enter the high-stakes world of bounty hunting, armed with all they've learned at Bob Burton's school. They may not be cops, but with tens of thousands of bail jumpers on the loose, bounty hunters will continue to be a crucial arm of law enforcement.
Law enforcement definitely does not have the time, manpower, or ability sometimes to catch these fugitives. And if it wasn't for the bounty hunting community, I think there would be a lot more fugitives at loose.
Tonight, we reveal the dangerous world of law enforcement. We've seen how the latest in ballistics technology is helping police take killers off the street, and how officers are getting the upper hand in deadly high-speed pursuits. From revolutionary new lie detectors to the high-tech weapons of the future, law enforcement stands ready to meet the challenges of the coming century. But what other changes lie ahead remain unknown, and among law enforcement's best-kept secrets.